Hello, and thank you for joining us. In this session, we're going to introduce you to the site review. My name is Louise Halfpenny, and I'm the Director of Communications at West Herts. And the purpose of today's session is, first of all, to introduce you to the team, to talk about why we are conducting the site review and what our approach to the site review is. And we don't yet have the results of the site review, so this session is really to talk you through what it is and why we've done it, but we do expect the results to be with us on the 14th of August. So your hosts for this session are Helen Brown, Deputy Chief Executive, and Maggie Robinson. Maggie joins us from the Rolefree. I'm sorry we don't have a picture, but you are going to see her in person later on in this presentation. Over to you, Helen.
Thank you, Louise. So I'm just going to briefly outline why we're doing an independent site review before handing over to Maggie, who's going to talk you through the approach in more detail. So we approved a preferred way forward in our strategic outline case in July 2019. That effectively was for a redevelopment of emergency care services on the Watford General Hospital site. But as we move into the outline business case stage, we need to review the original options from the SOC and confirm that the long list and short list are still valid. So as we've described in a previous session, we are re-looking at the long list of options to define a new short list of options for the outline business case stage. The long list includes options which require construction of new facilities on sites not currently owned by the Trust to provide a range of emergency and specialist care services. And it's really important as we look at the long list and agree our short list of options for inclusion for more detailed appraisal, that any option that we shortlist must be viable and meet the agreed critical success factors. So, with this in mind, we asked Rolefree Property Services, who have worked with Montague Evans, to undertake an independent site feasibility study, and particularly focusing on the review of the delivery timelines and risks for the 4 identified sites. We published the brief in July, so the detail of that is available on the website. But since the original brief was written and published, we have agreed with the Rolefree that they should also look at the feasibility and timeline of the redevelopment on the Watford General Hospital site as part of the review. And because of that, we've moved the completion date from the end of July, which was our original timeline, to the middle of August. And that will then be a key piece of the evidence that we're collecting to support us with our long list appraisal. So now I'm going to hand over to Maggie, who will talk you through in a bit more detail the approach that they've taken, the scope of the piece of work that they're doing, so where they've focused, but also probably just as importantly, things that they haven't picked up in this review because they sit elsewhere. Thank you, Maggie, over to you.
Thank you, Helen. I'm Maggie Robinson, Director of Property at Rolefree Property Services Limited, and we are leading the consultancy team appointed by West Herts, a hospital trust, to carry out the site feasibility study. The consultancy team has considerable experience built up over a number of years, working in both the NHS and in the private sector in disciplines such as town planning, valuation, construction, programming, and appraisal of development land. Our approach and methodology to carrying out the site feasibility has focused on 3 key areas. These are suitability, availability, and deliverability. In terms of suitability, the presumption is that a hospital planning use will be supported, and that policies and legislation seeking to protect community use and existing natural environment designation, for example, green belts, are assumed not to be an impediment. Of course, each of the sites has to be capable of sustaining the build footprints required by the services to be brought forward. In addition to that, where the sites are not accessible currently, we have assessed the ability to bring forward that accessibility, most notably around road access for some of the sites. In order to assess the above, we have had direct discussions with the relevant planning authorities, as well as, of course, amongst the expert consultant team. In terms of availability, we are seeking to assess the programme that each of the sites could come forward in terms of transfer of ownership to the trust. And in order to assess that, we have also had regard to any legal and restrictive covenants and impediments. We've had direct conversations with each of the landowners in order to understand this criteria in more detail. In terms of deliverability, where we are assessing the timescales to which the hospital will be substantially complete, one of the criteria that plays an important part of that is assessing the programme to achieve planning consent. Some of the sites require a change of use from their existing status, and this will take a little bit of time to work through. It shouldn't be underestimated the length of time required to bring forward a major transformation construction projects, such as bringing forward a hospital, and that as part of the consultancy team, we have carefully assessed the programme required, the planning programme required in order to achieve this successful consent. Some of the sites also require significant enabling works, and by that I refer to the transportation infrastructure as well as the utilities that need to be brought onto some of the greenfield sites. This all has an impact on the future hospital design and implementation of the construction programme, and is a key aspect that has formed part of our site evaluation. In order to comparatively assess each of the sites, we have developed a valuation approach which has a pass-fail against the site capacity, and against some of the other suitability and availability criteria, we have scored from 4 down to 0, with 4 being the optimum. In terms of overarching deliverability, and also the scoring of the risk associated with not securing planning permission at all, we have adopted a traffic light system of red, amber and green. As Helen has previously mentioned, we have included an additional site within our scope, being the Watford, existing current Watford General Hospital site. And therefore the programme to deliver the outcome of our report has moved to the 14th of August, and we will be reviewing all of the inputs against that programme.
So thank you, Helen, and thank you, Maggie. I hope you found that interesting. Keep an eye out for our website, where we'll be putting the site review results up very soon. And thank you once again for your time.